Money doesn't disappear all at once. It weakens first. Prices stop making sense. Change becomes impossible. Paydays arrive late, or not at all. At first, people blame confusion. Then they blame shortages. Only later do they realize something deeper has broken. When money stops working, people don't panic immediately. They adapt. Imagine walking into a store with cash in your hand and being told it's useless, not illegal, not counterfeit, just unwanted. This moment has happened thousands of times across history. And every time the response is the same. People stop asking how much does it cost. They start asking what do you have? That's when barter returns. Not as nostalgia, not as ideology, as necessity. When money breaks, trust replaces price. In the early days of collapse, cash still circulates, but its meaning changes. You can hold it. You can count it. You just can't rely on it. Sellers hesitate. Buyers rush. Everyone expects tomorrow to be worse than today. What do you accept as payment when value melts overnight? In Weimar Germany, during hyperinflation, wages were paid twice a day. Workers ran from factories to markets before prices doubled again. But even that wasn't enough. Soon, shopkeepers stopped pricing goods in marks altogether. They preferred cigarettes, soap, food, items with weight, items with use. Money became paper. Objects became value. The same pattern repeated decades later in Argentina. When banks froze accounts and cash vanished, people created truque clubs, barter networks operating in schools, churches, abandoned warehouses. You brought what you had. You traded for what you needed. Haircuts for food, repairs for medicine, lessons for fuel. No prices, no taxes, no receipts, just survival. These systems weren't efficient. They were fragile. They were messy. But they worked. Because when money fails, efficiency stops mattering. Access does. Barter always returns in layers. At first, it's informal. Neighbors helping neighbors. Then it becomes organized. Markets emerge. Rules form. Who trades with whom? What's acceptable? What's risky? And eventually, a second economy appears. Not illegal. Not official. Parallel. In the Soviet Union's final years, factories stopped paying workers in money. They paid in products. A refrigerator from a factory. Shoes from another. Fuel from somewhere else. Enterprises traded entire shipments instead of cash. This wasn't barter because people preferred it. It was barter because accounting had lost meaning. When money can't coordinate trust, goods do. But barter has limits. You can't store it easily. You can't transport it efficiently. You can't divide it cleanly. So people adapt again. They create units. In prisons, cigarettes became currency. In war zones, fuel. In shortages, food. The item doesn't matter. The properties do. It must be useful. Widely desired. Hard to fake. Easy to divide. That's not primitive thinking. That's economic logic stripped to essentials. Barter isn't a step backward. It's a fallback protocol. And it always favors those with access. People who control supply win. People who produce essentials survive. Those with only labor lose first. What happens to someone who has nothing but time to trade? They wait. They negotiate. They accept worse terms. Barter reveals inequality faster than money ever does, because there's nowhere to hide. No inflation statistics, no official prices, no explanations. Just exchange or exclusion. This is why barter never replaces money permanently. It's exhausting. Every transaction requires negotiation. Every trade carries risk. Every agreement depends on trust. Money exists to reduce friction. Barter exists when friction becomes unavoidable. And once money stabilizes, even badly, people abandon barter immediately. Not because money is better, but because it's easier. Still, every time systems crack, barter resurfaces. In Venezuela, in Zimbabwe, in wartime cities, in disaster zones. Not because people forget money, but because money forgets them. And once you understand this pattern, you start to see it forming early, when cash is refused quietly, when prices stop updating, when goods vanish before money does. Barter doesn't announce itself. It sneaks in, and by the time it's visible, the break has already happened. Barter doesn't start in markets, it starts in conversations. A neighbor asks if you have extra food. You ask if they have fuel. No one says the word trade out loud. They say, maybe we can help each other. In the beginning, everyone pretends this is temporary, that money will come back, that prices will settle. But barter grows quietly, because it solves a problem cash no longer can. In Weimar Germany, when hyperinflation erased savings, people didn't wait for reforms. They adapted day by day. Workers brought goods from factories directly to farms. Farmers accepted tools, furniture, or labor instead of paper money. Entire train cars moved without a single mark changing hands. The official economy still existed. It just didn't matter. In Argentina's crisis of the early 2000s, the same pattern appeared, but faster. When bank withdrawals were frozen, trust evaporated overnight. Cash was trapped behind glass. Accounts existed, but access didn't. So people built alternatives. Truque clubs multiplied across cities. Each had its own rules. Some printed internal vouchers. Others relied purely on direct exchange. At first, participation felt empowering. People were proud to survive without banks. But soon, problems surfaced. Fake goods entered the system. Trust broke down. Those with valuable skills dominated exchanges. Barter revealed something uncomfortable. Equality is hard to sustain when value is negotiated face to face. Who has more leverage in a barter deal? The person who needs food today, or the person who controls food? In the Soviet Union's final decade, barter wasn't grassroots. It was systemic. Factories owed each other money they couldn't pay, so they exchanged output instead. Steel for fuel, fuel for transport, transport for labor. Accounting departments tracked refrigerators, not rubles. This kept production alive, barely, but it destroyed transparency. No one knew what anything was worth anymore, only that something had to move. This is the hidden cost of barter. It keeps life going, but blinds the system. Without prices, signals disappear. Without signals, mistakes multiply. Resources flow, but inefficiently. Corruption thrives quietly. Those closest to supply chains gain power. Those far from them fall behind. Barter always centralizes influence, just not visibly. And yet when money fails, people accept this trade-off. Because imperfect exchange beats no exchange. Barter also changes behavior in subtle ways. People stop specializing, they diversify out of fear. If you only know one skill, you're vulnerable. If you know many, you're flexible. So teachers become repair workers, engineers grow food, artists trade lessons for essentials. Creativity explodes, not from inspiration, but necessity. But this flexibility has limits. Barter consumes time. Negotiation replaces productivity. Every trade becomes a calculation. Is this worth it now? And fatigue sets in. People long for something simpler, something neutral, something accepted without conversation. This is why even broken money outcompetes barter. A weak currency is still a shortcut. A flawed price is still guidance. Once a medium of exchange stabilizes, even slightly, barter fades. People don't miss it. They don't celebrate it. They abandon it. Because barter is not freedom. It's friction management. And friction wears people down. Still, the pattern remains consistent. Money breaks. Barter returns. Inequality sharpens. Then money, or something like it, reasserts itself. The cycle isn't moral. It's mechanical. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If barter always comes back when money fails, what early signs tell us money is weakening? They're subtle. Sellers asking for preferred payment, goods priced differently depending on how you pay, essential items disappearing first. When people start choosing who they trade with, not how much they charge, the shift has already begun. Barter doesn't arrive with chaos. It arrives with quiet adaptation. And by the time it's visible, money has already lost its authority. Barter doesn't replace money because it's better. It replaces money because money stops doing its job. And the first signs are never dramatic. They show up in small refusals. A shop that accepts cash, but prefers something else. A service that costs more if you pay the normal way. A seller who asks what you have before asking how much. These aren't glitches. They're signals. Money's authority fades when people stop trusting tomorrow, when prices feel temporary, when wages lag reality, when saving feels pointless. At that point, value shifts closer to the body. Food before electronics, fuel before convenience, skills before credentials. People stop optimizing for profit. They optimize for continuity. What keeps life moving one more day? Barter answers that question directly. It strips exchange down to function. What do you need? What do you have? Can we agree? No intermediaries, no abstractions. That clarity feels grounding, at first. But clarity has a cost. Without prices, comparison becomes personal. Without money, disagreement becomes conflict. Barter works best among people who already trust each other. Families, neighbors, small groups. As networks grow, friction grows faster. Disputes multiply. Standards fragment. Power concentrates around supply. Those who control essentials gain leverage. Those who don't become dependent. And dependence hardens quickly. This is why barter systems rarely scale peacefully. They solve survival locally. They strain coordination globally. Eventually, something fills the gap. Sometimes it's a reformed currency, sometimes a foreign one, sometimes a new unit born inside the barter system itself. Cigarettes become money. Fuel becomes money. Vouchers become money. Not because people want money again, but because they want less negotiation. Money returns the moment it reduces friction. And when it does, barter vanishes quietly. No ceremonies, no gratitude, just relief. The lesson here isn't about preparing for collapse. It's about recognizing patterns, because money doesn't fail randomly. It fails when trust stretches too far, when systems grow larger than the confidence holding them together. And when that happens, people don't wait for permission. They adapt using the oldest tools available. Direct exchange, local trust, immediate value. Barter isn't a revolution. It's a regression, a functional one, a reminder of how thin the layer of abstraction really is. And once you've seen how quickly people abandon money and how quickly they rebuild exchange without it, you start to notice how much of modern life depends on something invisible working perfectly. When it does, we forget it exists. When it doesn't, everything else rushes forward to replace it. And in the next story, we'll go one step deeper, not into collapse, but into the moment before it. The quiet phase where shelves empty while money still circulates, where prices exist but access doesn't. Because long before barter comes back, scarcity rewrites daily life. And that's where the next mechanism begins.